Community ecology. Oh, I just love this. 6.3, part 3. I'm not sure if you can hear Emma snoring. Let me bring it near her. She must have known. She stopped snoring loudly. All right, let's move. Well, I think I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. Whew. All right, so let's talk about ecological succession. All right, so when we look at the notes here, it says that stability is a community at equilibrium. So there's not very much change going on. There's very little disturbance and very little change that's occurring over time. So it's a stable environment. We have what's called ecological succession. And when we think of succession, we think of one after the other after another. That's really kind of what it means. So we have this change in the community due to time and the disturbance. So some sort of disturbance. So there's two main types that can occur. You have primary and you have secondary succession. Primary succession is what we see here. This is where we are starting from scratch. There's not even dirt, okay? So you have, in the case of volcanoes, there's literally not even dirt to start with. And so you're using mosses and lichens here in order to, these pioneer species, think of pioneers, the first one to cross the west. In fact, next to pioneer species, draw a little covered bridge in your notes. Sorry, I got a little distracted. So those pioneer species come in here and they change that bare rock and they start converting it into soil. So here we have Mount St. Helens, the eruption in Washington. Now, you do see some vegetation here, and that vegetation is a result of, just like a small little piece of the ground that had not get covered in the lava. And of course, here we have Hawaii, which sprung up out of the ocean as a volcano. And then just over time, that volcanic rock turned to plush tropical islands because you had your mosses and lichens that came in first, and then it would break down into soil, and then eventually you could start with some plants, and the process would continue. So you need these pioneers here. You need those pioneers to make the dirt that's needed for the plants. And then the birds bring in seeds, again, in their poop, in their feces, as they feed on the lichens. And so they actually bring in those seeds. And you can see here the process is you have mosses and lichens, and then it goes to grasses, bushes, gymnosperms, which would be what? Gymno and sperm, naked seed. Write that in your notes, naked seed. And then eventually the gymnosperms will turn into hardwood trees. And then you have what's called a climax community, where you have hardwood forests exist all over the specific area, that being the most advanced and stable community that you're going to have. So you have primary succession. Here you have again, we saw this picture before. Here we have grasses, we have bushes coming in, and we start having trees here. And then, of course, today this would be the climax community of Hawaii. And that's me jumping off that rock again. Woo! Sorry. All right. Now, the second type of succession is secondary succession. And the difference between primary and primary starting from bare rock. Secondary, you got dirt. So secondary succession is going to occur more quickly because you don't have to make dirt. And so this is starting over at the grasses level, not from scratch. So this is, you would see secondary succession after a forest fire. And so it wipes everything out. You'd see it after a field has been farmed, and if a farmer doesn't grow crops in there, you'd start seeing secondary succession. You'd see those grasses come in, the small bushes, the trees, the small trees, and then you'd eventually end up into that climax community of the hardwood trees over time. We're very familiar with this. Write this in your notes. We're very familiar with this here in Alabama with clear cutting. So under secondary succession, I want you to write forest fire, farmland, and then what did I just say? It was, man, that's a tough one. It was clear cutting. There we go. There we go. But of course, again, secondary succession, the dirt already exists. It's been a long day, apparently. The dirt already exists. There we go. So the dirt already exists, where in primary, you got to make the dirt. It's just bare rock. Okay? So secondary is going to happen faster. All right, let's see. So here's a good picture. Secondary succession after there's been a forest fire. You can see how all this is burnt up. But just several years later, you can see this all coming back. And it happens relatively quickly. I wish I would have photographed over by my house. There was, they did clear cutting over there. Oh, there's a place they just clear cut right behind my house. I could take time-lapse photography. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad I said something. I'll go take pictures. Probably not right now, though. It's dark. All right, and I think that's all we have for the show today, folks. Put your popcorn away. Show's over.